Welcome to Liam Johnson Podcast Inner World Series, where we open the door of awareness, nurture inner wisdom, and build a deeply rooted life from the inside out. Today's topic marks a special milestone in the 21-session journey of expanding inner awareness. In previous episodes, we talked about emptiness and realized that everything begins not with action, but with the result of an invisible seed, the mental image within our mind. And today I invite you to take the next step toward a crucial point, the inner structure of the human being and the concept of inner truth. We live in a busy world where people teach each other how to make money, how to control others, how to build a personal brand. But very few ask the question, what truly governs our life from the inside? Or if emotions are real, why do they constantly change? That is why today's content is so important, because we cannot master life if we do not understand the structure of our own inner world. I will guide you through each layer, from body to emotion to personality to mind, so you can clearly see why we react, why we get carried away, and most importantly, why peace always slips away, despite all our efforts. In this video, you will hear a story, a profound concept from Buddhist knowledge, and a very modern perspective from emotional science, all coming together as a map to help you return inward and live with deeper intention every day. And if you stay until the end, I will share a secret, the very thing that separates someone who merely reacts to life from someone who masters it through the power of conscious choice. I believe you did not come to this podcast by accident. Maybe deep within, something is waiting to be named, a part of inner truth longing to be found. And if you feel this is what you need, then please sit back, take a deep breath, and let me walk you through the next steps of the journey, from knowing to understanding to mastering. Throughout life, people tend to look for answers outside themselves. How to be happier, how to be more successful, how to live in peace. But few stop and ask, what kind of seeds am I planting in my mind every day? My friend, everything we experience today, whether joy or sorrow, favorable or challenging circumstances, all began from a seed, and in the language of inner development, we call that seed. What is a seed? In its deepest sense, a seed is not just an action, a word, or even a thought. A seed is a mental image. And it is not the image you see with your eyes. It is the image you believe to be true, your core beliefs, the definitions you assign to yourself, to others, and to life. If you think you are inadequate, that is an image. You think you don't deserve happiness, that too is an image. And if you keep repeating that image in your mind every day, what do you think will happen? Happiness does not come from chasing. It comes from the image you are living with inside. Mental imagination, the source of all conditions. Anything you see on the outside begins with an image on the inside. A successful person is not lucky. They are successful because they have lived for years with the image, I am valuable, I am worthy. Conversely, someone who always fails is not incapable. They simply do not realize they are living with a distorted image. I'm not good enough. I'll never be able to do it. You don't receive what you want. You receive what you've been conditioned to tolerate, and the mental image in your mind is the boundary for that. When the image is right, life changes. Now you might ask, how can I change the image in my mind? The answer is, by returning inward, recognizing it and adjusting it. You don't need a perfect image. You only need one that aligns with your desired direction. An image that, when you live with it, makes you feel lighter, clearer, and able to move forward with intention. For example, you can shift from "I'm easily hurt" to "I am learning to love myself." Or from "I'm helpless with emotions" to "I am step by step understanding myself." That is the process of planting a new seed. Why is the image so important? I want you to remember this. Success is not built in a day. It's built in the daily choices you make when no one is watching. And those choices are the direct result of the image you carry in your mind. If you see yourself as strong, you will rise. If you see yourself as a victim, an image, even if imagined, holds the power of truth. And if you don't consciously create a positive image, you will live with one that others gave you, or worse, the one your unhealed past built. The journey inward begins with the scene. When you return to your own mind, you are doing something different from most of the world. You no longer chase conditions, you begin to master them. I'm not saying everything will change overnight, but I believe, and you will too, that if you change even one root image, the entire trajectory of your life will shift. You stop chasing results and you start attracting them. When the image you carry becomes clear and accurate, you don't have to rush. You attract instead of pursue. I want you to take a minute, right now, to ask yourself, what image am I currently living with? Does it move me forward or hold me back? Is it an image I chose or one I unknowingly carried along? Because if you don't re-choose the seed, if you don't actively replant the image in your mind, then all external efforts are just preparing the soil without sowing the seed. And in the next session, I will guide you deeper into the structure of the inner self, so you can not only adjust your image, but also understand how your layers of emotion and personality are influencing you. Because you deserve a life of peace and sustainability from within, and that journey begins with one clear image. And we will now move on to part 2, the concept of inner truth, a very important element in today's journey of expanding your inner awareness to help you awaken and grow. Let us pause for a moment and reflect on this. Inner truth is what does not change through time and space. Because if you look back, you will see houses, cars, bank accounts are real, but they change. Lovers, family, teachers are real, but they change. Health, emotions, careers also change. And if something can change, then, in its deepest sense, it is not inner truth. We live in a world full of change. No one denies that. But the mistake most of us make is clinging to what always changes and expecting lasting peace from it. I have seen many people searching for happiness by buying another house. Some seek it in a new relationship. Others place all their trust in work, status, or praise from others. But then, one fine day, the house loses value, love shifts, work becomes unstable, and everything falls apart. Why is that? Because they anchored their happiness to something that is not inner truth, meaning things that change with time and space. They rooted their lives in ever-changing ground. One deep reason why people today fall into depression, anxiety, or a sense of emptiness is not because they lack achievements, but because they no longer know what to hold on to that is truly lasting. When your mind constantly places hope in things beyond your control, you are drifting away from yourself. And the scary part is most of us are so used to it that we no longer notice. We call change a challenge. We call instability life as it is. But few stop and ask, is there a place within me that does not change, where I can take refuge? There is a story that says evil beings always try to make humans suffer. That is why they stole the inner truth from humans, so they would never find something to rely on and would always be in pain. They hid it not on high mountains nor in deep oceans, but deep within each person. Why inside? Because humans are used to looking outside. We often search for happiness through wealth, luxury, and power, but rarely turn inward. Yet returning inside and recognizing what does not change should be something you do every day. Truth is the key to peace. I know you might be hearing this for the first time. Maybe you never thought there is something inside you that never changes. But I am here on Inner World Podcast not to present abstract philosophy. I am here to remind you of something simple. If you keep holding on to what always changes, you will always be unsettled. On the contrary, if you return and touch inner truth, the unchanging part within you, then you will have a place to stand firm, no matter what happens outside. Inner truth is not a concept, but a place to return to. So what is inner truth? It is not a theory. It is not a fleeting emotion. It is not a fake state of stillness you try to imagine. Inner truth is the deepest layer within you, where even if the world changes, the mind fluctuates, and emotions rise and fall, it still remains present, not more, not less, unaffected. When you live from that place, you do not need to cope with life. You just observe and respond mindfully. A question for yourself. And now, once again, I invite you to pause and ask, what am I holding on to in order to define myself? Is it sustainable? Is it changeable? And if I lose it, will I still be me? And are you willing to turn inward, to do what is right, even when no one cheers, no one acknowledges, no one sees? If you feel this is the time to return, then I believe you are taking the first steps on the journey back to your roots. And in the next part, we will go deeper into the story of the inner structure, so you will not only know that inner truth exists inside, but also know exactly the path to touch it. We will talk about mind, personality, and emotion, the three layers that drive all reactions, all choices, all behaviors, and also the three gateways to return to yourself. See you in the next part, where understanding will no longer be a concept, but a vital living experience. I want to tell you in more detail the story of the demons and humans mentioned earlier, that once upon a time there was a deep conflict between two worlds, the demons and the humans. After disputes and struggles, the humans pushed the demons out of their living lands. But before retreating, the demons devised the deepest revenge plan of all, stealing the inner truth of humanity. Not wealth, not knowledge, but inner truth, the one core element that helps humans live authentically, find real peace and true freedom. At first, the demons planned to hide the inner truth on the highest mountain, but then they thought, one day humans will climb there. They then considered hiding it in the deep forest, the ocean, but still felt it wasn't safe enough. Because science would eventually progress and humans would discover every place out there. Finally, the oldest demon, full of experience and cunning, decided, "Let us hide it in the only place humans never think to look, deep inside themselves." And from that moment, the inner truth was hidden within the human inner world. A place not far at all, yet no one dares to enter. A treasure closest to us, yet the most forgotten. Such a paradox, isn't it? We possess the most precious thing, yet we are strangers to ourselves. We can locate a satellite in space, but cannot locate our own emotions. We learn to speak many languages fluently, but hesitate when facing our inner voice. If you do not return inward, you will always live lacking something on the outside. And that is the sweetest tragedy this story reminds us. When we lose connection with our inner world, when we no longer touch inner truth, humans begin chasing pleasures, illusions, and constant changes, thinking they are happiness. When inner truth is hidden, what replaces it? Fame. The feeling of being recognized. Power, money, comfort. All are false images because they change with time, with people, and even with your own emotions. But then, when those things shake, you fall into emptiness. Not because you are not enough, but because you placed your trust in what is not real. Remember this. You cannot build a stable life on a constantly shifting foundation. And if you see it clearly, you will realize the demons are the layers of false perception within us. The act of hiding is our habitual outward focus. And inner truth is the ability to return, to face, to accept, and to live authentically with ourselves. You do not need to wait until conditions are perfect. You only need to sit still, truly still, and ask, what am I chasing? Is it real? Is it true? And if the answer is no, then congratulations. You have just touched the door that leads you back. And in the next part, we will begin to remove each layer: emotion, personality, mind, the three gateways that will help you rediscover the hidden treasure. See you in the next part, where theory will turn into living experience. In this part, we will explore mind, personality, emotion, and body, the four layers operating the inner world. Each layer is a mirror reflecting what has not been seen, and also a key leading back to the inner truth that humanity has lost. Mind, the deepest layer. Intention to listen, intention to see, intention to speak, intention to know. This is the core, the place where we truly receive life. Not how you feel, not how you react, but how you know, how you listen, how you observe. Intention to listen, intention to see, intention to speak, intention to know are unchanging. For example, when you talk about listening to this Inner World podcast with a friend, the story may change when you change the topic, but the intention to speak here does not change. Likewise, intention to see, to hear, to know does not change. You may see something that changes, but the intention to see does not change. You hear something that may change, but the intention to know always does not change. Intention to listen, intention to speak, intention to speak, intention to know are surrounded by a light electromagnetic field. It can be imagined as a layer of spiritual light, neither material nor immaterial, helping you illuminate all external experiences, but without being stained by them. Unchanging is where the inner truth is touched. No matter how strong the storms outside, the layer of mind is not shaken, because it is the unchanging layer, the place you return and rely upon. For instance, a person speaks ill of you. You hear it and feel disappointed because that person spoke badly of you. But if you rely on inner truth, not on those words, you hear simply as hearing you use the intention to hear, to listen, then you will see it as like any other words. You will feel nothing, no anger, no disappointment. Your inner being remains balanced at that moment. You have touched inner truth, relied on inner truth. Wonderful. It did not allow words to affect you. Your emotions were managed by inner truth, the unchanging element, new personality. The personality layer, consisting of 16 personality traits such as greed, anger, ignorance, arrogance, doubt, evil. This is the frame of character, the mental components that form how you react, your biases, how you perceive people and things. These 16 traits determine how you react to objects, events, explaining all your actions. These 16 traits are surrounded by a yin-yang electromagnetic field, suggesting a sense of balance, deep, yet easily influenced. When this layer loses balance, you easily fall into hasty, foolish, arrogant, doubtful reactions. Why is this layer important? Because most of us describe ourselves as hot-tempered, sensitive, or petty, without stopping to understand which trait is driving us. Like treating an illness, you must know its name to give correct medicine. So if you fully understand, recognize, and become aware of the 16 traits, you will be able to manage your actions proactively. 3. Emotion, the emotional layer, constructing of 84,000 illusion bubbles. A scientific way, ancient people described thousands of feelings: joy, fear, liking, hating, and most of the time we live among those illusions. The emotion chasing pleasure and feelings. You have become too accustomed to seeking emotions for pleasure, to pleasure in the superficial happiness, the feeling of being loved, only to find your heart empty right afterwards. There is a fact out there that humans are at risk when living according to emotions. The story of demons and humans clearly shows when we chase pleasure emotions, we drift away from the inner self, using exactly those illusion bubbles, and thus lose true happiness. 4. Body, the physical layer. Earth, water, air, fire. These are the 4 great elements forming the body. All biological needs, eating, sleeping, movement, shaping lie here. It is no mistake to say this is the physical foundation. But if you live only by the body, you live on the surface of the wave, never touching the deeper ground. The mutable nature. The body changes. Aging comes illness, fatigue. How can they embody truth? A relationship among the 4 layers. On the inner journey. 1. External messages pass through the senses and encounter the emotion layer. 2. Through emotions, we react, speak, act according to the personality layer. 3. All is reflected through the mind layer, the place of knowing, conscious choice, the unchanging core. 4. At the bottom is the body, the place deciding whether to continue outward journey or return inward. Imagine you standing on the vast ocean. The body bears the waves. Emotion is the reaction to the waves. Personality is how you define the waves, peaceful or turbulent. And mind is the calm shore you can return to. And after we have unlocked the structure of our inner world from body, emotion, personality to the deepest layer, mind, The next step is to understand the language each layer uses. Because if you do not understand the language each layer speaks, you will easily fall into confusion and revert to old habits, reacting emotionally, living by routine, and believing you are living authentically. Today we step into Part 5, the multidimensional language science, folklore, and Buddhism. And you will see the same truth seen from 3 perspectives, 3 different languages, gives you 3 doors to open the same cabinet. Understanding yourself. One scientific perspective, the language of mechanism. Modern science asserts, mind is the activity of the brain, the central nervous system processing signals. Emotions are the result of hormones, dopamine for joy, cortisol for stress, oxytocin for affection, etc. This view is not wrong, very precise, very clear. But sometimes precisely because it is so clear and rational, we forget that inside us is not just a chemical machine. If you only think happiness is produced by serotonin, you will seek drugs to boost it. But if you believe happiness can be chosen by a deeper layer of knowing within you, you will live differently. Science shows us how it works, but not always the meaning of it. To full perspective, the language of imagery. Ancient people had no technology, no access to information like today, yet they had a rich vocabulary of emotion and imagery. Listening with the heart refers to empathy that comes not from the ear, but from attunement. Feeling from the gut speaks of deep, profound emotion. Hurt heart, cut gut, heavy head are folkways linking emotion to the body. You see, even without hormone measuring machines, they knew clearly what was happening within them. And there is a profound subtlety in folk language, because it does not define, it invites. Feelings that are named are easier to manage. Buddhist perspective, the language of insight. And finally, we return to ancient knowledge Buddhism, which clearly defines the structure of the inner world through each layer. 5 senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, are gates receiving the world. Emotion is the layer of immediate reaction where pleasure and suffering arise. Personality is the layer of discrimination where you label everything, right, wrong, good, bad, like, dislike. Mind is the deepest layer, where one only knows, only observes, without attachment. If you understand this structure, you will know. When someone insults you before you get angry, there is a brief space between emotion and reaction. In that space, you can choose to live by emotion or return to mind. Between stimulus and response, there is a gap, and in that gap lies your freedom. Reflect closely on this. Your freedom, then, you will know what to do with this knowledge, and you will truly understand. You may ask, why not choose just one perspective when you can understand all 3? Because you live in a multidimensional world. Sometimes you need reason, that is, when science speaks. Sometimes you need empathy, that is, when folklore whispers. But sometimes you need an internal map, and that is when Buddhism leads the way. If you know only one language, you will be stuck when the world speaks another. If you know 3, you will not only communicate better with others, but also understand yourself on 3 different layers. Dear friend, become someone who speaks their own inner language. You can learn foreign languages. You can learn body language. But the most important language is your own inner language. An emotion arises, can you hear it? When personality is activated, can you name it? When your inner knowing is present, can you lean on it? And if you begin to learn this language, you are rewriting your own dictionary. A dictionary without definitions, but with understanding and liberation. In the next part, we will move into practical application, how to choose the appropriate layer to respond more commotion to PSP to our emotion. You may hear someone say, "I react based on emotions. I often cannot control myself. I don't know why this happens." That is Chan Lua, a reflex, unconscious and uncontrolled. You are being driven by emotion or personality layers without realizing it. In contrast, Luoshan is a conscious action originating from the mind layer, the space between stimulus and response. When you choose, you begin with observation, proactive responder, training all three layers, and one reacting with emotion. For example, when someone criticizes you, you feel upset and respond with anger. If you merely choose, "You think I am right to be angry, and I will express it." But if you consciously choose, you will recognize that emotion, observe it, and only then decide how to act. 2. Analysis with personality. You begin reasoning they are wrong, or what should I do? That is the personal I layer necessary. Yet, when logic becomes dogmatic, it leads to pride, doubt, and pettiness, as the saying goes. Choosing the wrong foundation is a profound failure. You can leverage your personality strengths, but you must recognize which trait is driving you before you can control it. 3. Observation with mind. You pause and ask, "What am I feeling right now? Is my personality controlling me? What is the best I can do?" This is the mind layer. It is not indifferent, but razor sharp, like a rare moment of mindfulness amidst chaos, taking responsibility from his side out. Mastering your inner world means proactively choosing your state, not letting emotions run wild, taking responsibility for your actions and words. When you choose not to lash out or rage, but respond calmly with patience and clarity, you have mastered yourself. It allows you to live according to your inner values without letting temporary emotions damage your integrity, self-respect, and personal growth. You may not realize it, but each time you pause to observe your emotion, analyze, and choose, you are restructuring your inner world. You are not just mastering today's moment, but planting seeds for tomorrow. You don't receive what you want. You receive what you accept. And unless you refuse to accept any unconscious reaction, you cannot achieve a stronger inner self. Practice returning to mind is the moment you master your inner world. First, recognize when an emotion arises, pause, and ask, "What am I feeling?" That is the emotion layer. Next, discern before speaking or acting, ask, "Which personality trait is driving me?" This is the personality layer. Then accept and observe. Let everything pass through the mind layer. Just observe without judgment or emotional entanglement. Just action. From that place of calm, you choose the right response instead of reacting emotionally. If you can practice these steps, you will have made significant progress in managing your emotions. But what I truly hope is that you master your inner world. So let us practice the following steps. This is precious knowledge you may not have heard before. Let us begin. First, we recognize that everything is first received by the mind, meaning intention to listen, see, speak, know, but time passes so fast we don't sense it. Emotions appear instantly. The emotion layer, slightly later, helps us analyze and interpret. So the steps are: use the mind to receive, then use personality to analyze, then use emotion to respond. Specifically, Step 1. Use mind to receive intention, to listen, see, speak, know. Listen, just listen. See, just see. Speak, just speak. Know, just know. You will balance your inner world. You only know without judgment, without falling into emotion. Then, Step 2. Use the personality layer to analyze, discriminate, such as, which trait is driving me? What does that statement mean? Step 3. Use emotion to respond only after analysis and thoughtful consideration. Finally, Step 4. Observe and adjust action accordingly. Why is this known important? Because it prevents you from being defined by hidden layers within you. It frees you from addiction to emotional illusion bubbles. And most importantly, it helps you find the unshakable calm place, mind. Within the inner world, the mind layer is where you stand firm even when no one is watching. Change how you look at yourself, and you will truly change. In the next part, we will dive deeper into connecting with mind, turning inward to rediscover inner truth in every moment you live. If you have reached the end of this journey, then I believe somewhere within each phrase and each moment of listening, you have touched a true part of yourself. It may have been a slight nod, a moment of quiet reflection, or simply a new thought unfolding. And sometimes just a small shift within is enough for your entire life to begin to turn. And if you feel this video brought something to you, please consider hitting like and subscribing to our channel to support our team. This also helps the platform share our content with more people. Because who knows out there, someone may need a light just as you once did. And at the subscribe section, there is a bell icon. You can turn on notifications so that when the channel posts a new video, you will receive an alert. I look forward to seeing you again in a place where the deepest things always have a chance to be named. And remember, when you return inward, you will never walk alone. Wishing you a peaceful evening.